Hello guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. So we're looking at the November perfume tray. And at the beginning of each month, when I pick a new group of fragrances that I would like to pay attention to that month, I try really hard to get to the fragrances that I feel that I've neglected. There are so many fragrances in my collection, which has gotten quite large at this point. There are so many that I hold in high regard that I think are absolutely beautiful, and yet I'm not always able to get to and wear the fragrances that I really love. I'm always trying something new, and like I said, my perfume collection has gotten pretty large in compared to when I first started the channel and in comparison to the beginning of this perfume journey. So here we are. I have here a group of 17 fragrances that I curated for the month of November. Considering that the weather was getting a little bit colder here in New York, I tried to not only consider the temperature and what's weather appropriate, but I also tried to pay attention to some fragrances that I feel that I've neglected. And some are new, but many have been in my collection, and I finally paid a little attention to them in the month of November. So without further ado, let's start in the back with this big bottle of Christian Dior's Patchouli Imperial. Now, I love patchouli fragrances. I love Coromandel. I think it was on the September perfume tray. And this patchouli is a little unique. It's a little different. It's less sweet than Coromandel. There's coriander at the top that cuts through the patchouli in here. So while you have this earthy, a little bit chocolatey, a little bit woody, almost a little bit soily patchouli in this fragrance, you have this coriander that sort of cuts through that darkness, and I feel like it makes the fragrance a little bit lighter and not as dark in terms of a patchouli scent profile. And like I said, it's a little less sweet than something like Coromandel. I find it dry, I find it a little lighter than perfumes like Parfumum Rama's Patchouli and Psychedelique by Jevois. I feel like this one is a little bit of a lighter sort of take, but yet you still get the beauty that comes along with patchouli, that chocolatiness and the earthiness. And I really enjoy this. I like this one a lot. I would say that if I had to choose between this and Coromandel, I would have a hard time because I really do enjoy this one. It's a little less sweet, like I said. So the next one right in front of the Dior is by the house of Mugler, and this is Oriental Extreme. So this is a relatively new fragrance to my collection, and I'm really enjoying this one. And I've actually been delving into this line from the house of Mugler. And this is basically a woody fragrance that's resinous, but it's also irisy and super powdery. So there are powdery notes in here, and there's also carrot seed, which gives an irisy sort of aspect in a fragrance. And sometimes it's used in place of iris. So while this is warm and ambery, it's also super powdery. And so it gives the sort of ambery, woodsy scent profile, a little bit of lightness. And I do feel like there's something slightly vintage like in this fragrance. It's really nice. I like powdery fragrances, and this one is a nice ambery, woodsy, powdery fragrance. So I find it kind of warming and perfect for the colder weather. So that's Oriental Extreme. So the next one is from the house of Les Indemodables, and this is Oriental Velours. This is a unique fragrance. I feel like it's more of a texture. I feel like it's not like you're wearing perfume when you wear this. It's like you're wearing a mood, or you're wearing a feeling or a texture, if that makes sense. So this is predominantly a resinous fragrance with a lot of myrrh, and there's green in here as well. There's a spruce note, and then there's vetiver. And I do get the vetiver and I do get the hints of green, but predominantly It's a textured myrrh resinous fragrance. To me, it feels very dry and velvety on skin. It's a texture, and I really enjoy wearing this. And I get nuances that remind me of black licorice. I feel like I'm picking up something a little bit like a black licorice, which I really do enjoy. I like that in fragrances. So I love the House of Les Innombrables. This one is one that I enjoy, but I don't wear a lot. I don't wear this often. And so I made an effort when I curated this group for the month of November to put this perfume on the tray. And I may leave it for the month of December because I think that in the month of November, I only wore this once or twice. So there's a tiny dent. There is a tiny dent, but I need to wear it more. I like it a lot. So the next one is from the House of Cartier, and this is Oud and Rose. And I've been speaking about some of these fragrances. I spoke about Oud and Santal a few times recently, and I received the full bottle. I love that fragrance. This one is great. Really, really nice rose oud fragrance. Now, of course, rose and oud has been done a million times over. It can be a little bit boring, but I do like this one. I like it. The oud is not barnyardy. It's not skanky. The Oud and Santal is also not barnyardy and skanky. So I feel like the oud in this line is definitely a westernized, cleaned up oud. And I like that the rose in here is very powdery, very soft. And so this Oud and Rose fragrance is not a sharp one. It's not one that's too rich. Some of them can be rich and dark and heavy, and this one is not. This one I find very, very classy, very soft, powdery rose. Really, really like the way it's done. And the oud, you do get that nuance, and you do get the fact that it is an oudy wood aspect in the fragrance, but without being skanky. So it's a really classy one. It's really, really nice. I like this. Oud and Rose. So the next one is fairly new. Well, maybe not new, but I haven't worn it that much. And this is Aziyadé by Parfum d'Empire, one of my favorite houses. I really do want a bottle of Tabac Tabou, which I recently spoke about. And this one is often compared to Arabi by the House of Serge Lutens. And I can't say that I can tell you the differences. I haven't done a side-by-side, but I get the similarities. It's a general scent profile that is sort of fruity and sweet with exotic spices. And this one I feel is musky. I think there is a musk note in here. So while it's fruity and while it's sweet, it manages not to be a sugary, sort of off-putting, gloopy sweetness. There's something a little bit exotic about it. That's the best way that I can put it. So you have plum in here, you have date, you have pomegranate, then you have spices like cinnamon and cumin and cardamom, and there's also incense and patchouli. So there are some notes that darken things up a little bit, but yet you still have a fruity scent profile. It's really a great fragrance. I only wore this twice, so I feel like I need to get to know the fragrance better. And that's why I put it on the November tray, because I really do enjoy what it smells like, and I wanted to make an effort to wear it more. And so I think I may wear this to bed tonight because I really do enjoy this. It's a great one. So the next one is from the House of Guerlain, and this is a 2025 release, and this is Shalimar L'Essence. And this was such a great buy, one of the best buys of the year for me. I think this is a beautiful sort of flanker to Shalimar, and I have a lot of the Shalimar fragrances, although I don't have the Tonka, which I did sample and I do think is beautiful. So this one is the classic Shalimar ambery, vanillic with bergamot scent profile. I feel like I get tonka bean in here, and I feel like it goes powdery, and of course it's ambery. And this one, I always say, reminds me of Cuir Beluga, which is one of my favorite vanillic fragrances that has like a texture and a powderiness. In my opinion, this could easily be in the Guerlain's L'Art and La Matière line of fragrances. So I think they did a really great job with this one. And as many of you reminded me in some of the comments, this is not a limited edition. So I did not purchase the largest size, but it's not limited in edition. So that's great. So the next one is a discontinued gem. This is from the house of Lancôme, and this is Cuir de Lancôme. I have 2 bottles of this. I absolutely love this fragrance. I love the packaging as well. My other bottle doesn't have a cap. I think it was a tester. This is a great, great leather fragrance, and it's very reminiscent of Chanel's Cuir de Russie. This was released in 2007, and what you have here is a vintagey, leathery fragrance that has that birch, similar to Cuir de Russie, and you have the floral touches. So there's an abundance of floral touches in here, like jasmine and ylang ylang, and I find the fragrance to be quite dry in my opinion. It's a very beautiful fragrance. To me, it feels like a high-end fragrance. It feels like a high-end leather good. It feels very delicate. It feels like a delicate buttery leather between your fingers. And like I said, it's reminiscent of the Chanel Cuir de Russie sort of scent profile, but I think this one, I haven't done a side-by-side, but I feel like maybe the florals in here are a little bit brighter. And I feel like maybe the Chanel, the florals, even though I get the florals, I feel like maybe they meld together and become a little bit more powdery. But I haven't done a side-by-side, but this is really beautiful. A discontinued gem from the house of Lancôme. So the next one, speaking of Cuir de Russie, is Chanel's Cuir de Russie. I think this is a bottle from the 90s. The cap is fixed, and so you just spray it by pressing the top. And this one, like Cuir de Lancôme, is a very classy leather fragrance. It's almost vintagey. There's something citrusy and floral about the opening in here, and then it becomes this fine leather luggage. So while it opens a bit fresh, with florals right behind that freshness, as the fragrance develops, it really just turns into a fine leather handbag or a fine leather piece of luggage. Really beautiful. I feel like it's a little bit powdery. There's a tinge of something sweet. The balance of the notes in here is just right. I think the fragrance has changed throughout the years, even from this bottle to some other formulations, and then the EDT going into the EDP. I hear, I'm not sure because I haven't tried the EDT, I heard that the differences are noticeable to a lot of people. But in the end, whether this one or the EDP, which I do own, I think both are really, really beautiful. And I really enjoy Cuir de Russie. I feel like it's a very Chanel-like, classy take on leather. And there's just something about it. When I wear it, I feel dressed up, I feel buttoned up. And it's something that I like to wear if I'm going somewhere special. Although I do use it to work as my scent of the day as well. I don't hesitate. So the next one is from the house of Amouage, and this is Epic Woman. I love this fragrance. This is the newer formulation, although I have one with the non-magnetic cap, and the word Epic is on the neck of the cap as opposed to being on the bottle. So this fragrance is all about woods and sweetness, and then you have something lightly rosy with a hint of tea in here. So it's a complex fragrance. All of this, the woods, the sweetness, the rosy, the tea, all of it is covered in exotic spices, and there's frankincense running through the fragrance. So I feel like this fragrance is all about the spices. Yes, while you do have the woods and the rosy floral aspect and all of the other things going on in here, but it's covered in an abundance of spices: pink pepper, cumin, cinnamon. It's a very elegant fragrance. It's a complex fragrance. I wore this the other night out to dinner, and it just really does feel refined, well done, well balanced. It does have some sweetness, but it's definitely tempered just right. And this is Cécile Zarokian with some other perfumers, but I feel like she really does get the credit when it comes to Epic Woman. It's really a beautiful one. So the next one is from the house of Miller Harris. I think I recently spoke about this. Étui Noir, recent addition to my collection, so that's why it's on the tray. And this is a great smoky, leathery, ambery fragrance with spices. I do get an incense that runs through the fragrance. The leather is not horsey. It feels like a high-end, thick handbag, like a squishy high-end handbag. And the smoky touches are just right without being too dark, and the leathery aspects are just right without being too heavy. So there's actually an airiness about the fragrance. While it's a smoky, leathery scent profile, and it does have spices, like I said, it has an airiness. And I feel like Miller Harris fragrances do have an airiness to them. They have a lift, they have a lightness, even when they're delivering a darker, more full-bodied scent profile. So this one is really, really nice. And you guys know that I'm always talking about L'Adrienne, which, truth be told, was on the tray, but I didn't want to speak about it yet again. I'm in love with that fragrance, and I do want to delve into the house of Miller Harris a bit more. So the next one is the Ridiculous bottle by the house of Louboutin, and this is L'Ambre in their Fetiche line of fragrances, which is, I think, recent for the house. And I'm supposed to be trying a sample of the Iris one, but the delivery has been delayed and I should be getting it soon. I did try it in store and I liked it, but I decided to order a sample. And I think the leather fragrance is also quite nice, but I would like to sample that a little more on skin. So this fragrance is black amber, patchouli, and green tuberose. So it's a resinous fragrance, and while it's a resinous ambery fragrance, it's not too dark, it's not gloopy, it's not too sweet, and it's contrasted perfectly with a green tuberose. And I feel that it does something different with an amber scent profile, and that's what attracted me to this fragrance. I love ambers, and I have a lot of different types of ambers in my collection, and this one is something different. I like this amber with this green tuberose peeking through. I think it's unique. I don't have anything like it, and I love tuberose, although it's not overly floral. So if you're not into tuberose floral fragrances, just keep in mind that this one is definitely a green tuberose. It's very green. And so I feel that it's a very unisex fragrance, even though tuberose sometimes is associated with more feminine leaning fragrances. This one does a really, really nice job. I feel like it's maybe 70-30, with 70% being the ambery sort of darker aspects, with 30% being a green tuberose. So it's something different being done with the amber scent profile. So I do enjoy that one. I like wearing that to work. I find it easy to wear. So the next one is from the house of MDCI, and this is Chypre Palatin. And this one I've had, I think, for about a year, maybe a little over a year. And it does have a tiny dent. For me, that's a little dent. I love the house of MDCI. I think I own about 6 fragrances, and Chypre Palatin is a classic fragrance. A lot of people really, really love this one. So obviously it's a Chypre style fragrance. So you do have freshness in the opening, you have some sweetness, you have some fruitiness, you have an ambery aspect to this fragrance as well. And I feel like I do get spices in here. It gives me a little bit of an exotic sort of touch to the fragrance. I find it very opulent. I feel like I get something almost of a cosmetic lipsticky vibe from the rose and iris in here. I'm not sure if that's something that's just coming off that way to my nose or if others also get it, but I do feel that it's an opulent fragrance. I get that mossiness as a backdrop. It does feel humid and mossy and musty. I do get that sort of vintage aspect to the fragrance, but there is a nice amount of sweetness. I think this Chypre, of the Chypres that I own, might have a little bit more sweetness, but of course it's not a sugary sort of gloopy sweetness, not at all. It's a very classic style fragrance. And most recently, I feel that this one actually reminds me of Profumum Roma's Fiore d'Ambra. I find that there are some similarities between the two, this one being a little bit sweeter, but I do feel that both have ambery aspects, and I do feel that Fiore d'Ambra, because of that opium flower, has a spicy floral aspect with something musty, which comes along with the mossiness in this fragrance. So this does remind me of Fiore d'Ambra in certain ways. So that's Chypre Palatin. The next one is from the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo, and this is Tonkade. So I had a tiny bottle of this, and my son liked it, and I gave him that bottle. And so when I replaced it, I purchased the larger one. It just made more sense in terms of the price point. And this is basically a sweet gourmand fragrance. It's a sweet gourmand take on Tonka, but it's dark. It's definitely a darkened, sort of like sexy take on Tonka bean. It's definitely sweet, but the color of the bottle gives you an indication of the color of the scent profile. It's a darkened sweetness. I feel that it's powdery. I don't find it gloopy syrupy, so it's not off-putting, even though I'm normally not into super sweet fragrances. This one is really warm. I'm a big fan of Tonka in fragrance, and this one does have a bit of muskiness, which I like, and there are also some hints of spices in here, which add a little interest. So I think a lot of people like this one. I enjoy it. I've worn this to bed twice, and it's really, really cozy, very warm sort of scent profile. So that's Tonkade. So the next one is from the house of Chanel, and this is none other than Le Lion. This is an absolute love for me, and I think for a lot of people. I think a lot of people love Le Lion. This is the big bad wolf in the Chanel Les Exclusifs line of fragrances. This is so great. It's so great. It's an amber. It's a smoky amber. Smoky, leathery, resinous, with some sweetness. For me, this is classy. It's warming. It's unisex. It's just such a perfect fragrance. What a great release from the house of Chanel. It also feels a little bit special. It feels like a dressy fragrance. Now, don't get me wrong. I would not hesitate to wear this to work. I would not overspray. I would definitely spray only a few sprays if I were to wear this to work. I haven't recently. I feel that this is a special fragrance. So like some of my amouage fragrances, this is something that I think of when I'm going out to dinner. So the night that I went out to dinner last week, like I said, I wore Epic Woman, and I really, really put a lot of thought into what fragrance I was going to wear. It was like a 10-15 minute discussion in my own head about the fragrance that I was going to wear out to dinner, and Le Lion was the one that I was about to reach for. And then I decided that Amouage's Epic Woman needed a little bit of attention. The next one is from the house of Penhaligon's, and this is Babylon. I really love the packaging of the Penhaligon's fragrances. I have quite a few. This has a really cute Christmassy looking ribbon on it. I guess the colors on the bottle are very Christmas-like. Red with the green, and there's some gold. And this does scream holiday, cozy, and cold weather vibes. This is vanilla, but it's vanilla taken into a sort of spicy, saffron-y, slightly darkened direction. Full-bodied fragrance. The saffron gives a texture. It's almost leathery on skin. You have to like spices. There's coriander, saffron, nutmeg, and it's vanillic. So yes, it is a sweet fragrance, but it's more than just a vanilla fragrance for sure. It's spices, it's coziness, it's saffron-y, it's leathery, it's textured, and it's really, really perfect for the cold weather. So I did wear this a few times to work, and I have to be careful not to overspray because I feel like this fragrance projects pretty nicely. So that's Babylon. So the next one is a little 5 ml decant, and this is Melt My Heart by the House of Strangelove, New York City. This is very new to my collection. It's only a 5 ml because the fragrance is super expensive. I did see it on discounters, but I think the 50 ml is over $350. So I think it's close to $400 just for the 50 ml. And I think the retail gets close to $5. It may even be more than $5. So I watched others speak about this. Rich Mitch spoke about this, and then someone else spoke about it as well. And what attracted me to the fragrance, other than the description of what it smells like, is the orris butter. And I really love orris. I like iris fragrances. I like the buttery, almost raw type of iris fragrances. And there are a few others that are on my list of to try. And you guys mentioned a few as well. And this one, I'm not really prepared to speak too much about because it is new to my collection. I wore it once to work, and when my friend walked into the office, she complimented me, and it was late in the afternoon, and I had absolutely no idea that this fragrance was detectable. But she walked in and asked what I was wearing. She thought it smelled absolutely amazing. So this is all about a natural smelling orris butter, and you have some oud, but I don't find the oud to be animalic. I do get some oudy touches, but from my limited experience, it doesn't overtake the fragrance. So I don't feel that the oud is necessarily skanky or anything off-putting in the fragrance. There are hints of dark chocolate, but I don't find the fragrance to be gourmand, even though the word gourmand is used in some of the descriptions for this fragrance that I read online. So I don't find it gourmand. I find it very buttery. I find it high quality. It's complex, and it's not a typical iris fragrance for sure. It definitely feels really, really buttery, but I do have to get to know the fragrance better. I'm not sure if this will ever turn into a full bottle. It's quite expensive, and this being a 5 ml will probably get me through the winter considering how many fragrances are in my collection. So that's Melt My Heart by Strangelove, New York City. And last but not least is La Douleur Exquise by the House of Les Abstraits. I wore this as my scent of the day. There's not much of a dent in here, and there's an interesting reason why, and that's because I own about 3 little decants, and I've gone through 2 of them, and today I finished off the 3rd. So it is time to delve into the bottle. So I did put this on the tray at the beginning of November, and then I proceeded to wear the decants rather than spray from the bottle. So I think I'm going to have this on the December tray as well. So this is an absolutely stunning rose patchouli fragrance. Every time I speak about this fragrance, I mention how I was testing it from one of the decants. I wore it to work as my scent of the day, and the wear experience is absolutely magnificent. It's beautiful. It is on my skin the entirety of the day, and the way it opens and the way it wears is a little different from the way it dries down. So you do have a little bit of a scent journey with this fragrance, but the performance is exceptional. It's really great. And when I wore it as my scent of the day, when I was testing it, the very next day I placed an order for the full bottle. So like I said, this is a rose patchouli fragrance. It's a little ambery, it's a little spiced. It's a complex fragrance with layers. The perfumer is Antoine Lee. He is the perfumer behind all of the fragrances in the House of Les Abstraits. I know that there's a new release, Philosopher's Walk. I haven't tried it. I would like to. So this is ambery and spiced with clove and cumin and saffron. And this mixes with the rose and the patchouli, and you have frankincense running through the fragrance. It's opulent. And even though there is castoreum in here and you have the cumin, I don't find anything animalic or off-putting. In my opinion, maybe there are hints in the distant background, and maybe when the perfume dries down, tiny, tiny hints of something slightly animalic, but nothing super heavy. There's no huge animalic component to this beautiful rose fragrance. I know there are 2 types of roses in here, and like I said, it's a complex fragrance with layers, and a lot of people compare this to Portrait of a Lady by the House of Frederic Malle. I own that fragrance, but I don't reach for it. But I haven't done a side-by-side, so I'm not sure how this compares to Portrait of a Lady. But this is absolutely stunning. I love this fragrance, and it will be on the December tray as well. So that's it, guys. That's my November perfume tray, a group of fragrances that I really enjoyed throughout the month of November. So I hope all of you guys that are celebrating Thanksgiving are having a wonderful, happy, and healthy holiday. Until next time, bye guys.